Welcome back to Outdoors 460. Today I want to talk about false sunflower, also known as Heliopsis Helianthoides. Some people also call it early sunflower. And this is a terrific perennial that is native to a good portion of the eastern and midwestern United States, growing from zones 3 to 9. It prefers full sun, but it does very well in partial sun too. In fact, this picture that you're looking at here is a plant I'm going to show you in a minute outside that I have planted at my place that's in a partial sun environment where right now it's only getting about 2 to 3 hours of sun a day. And that sun is in the morning and it gets a little evening sun as well. And it's doing great, as you can see. This plant is tolerant of all soil types, but it does best in average to well-drained soils. It is drought tolerant, but prefers regular moisture. One of the great things about this plant is that it blooms a long time. In my area, which is a borderline 7A, 6B, it blooms from June all the way through to the first frost in the fall. It attracts bees, moths, butterflies, and other pollinators, as well as songbirds and finches. So if you want to help out the wildlife in your area, this is a great plant to have. In terms of critters and pests, deer generally don't bother with them. However, rabbits have been known to nibble on them, especially when they're young in the springtime. As they develop more and get tougher throughout the year, rabbits don't bother with them, but in the spring, there's a little susceptibility, so just remember that. And they can be susceptible to diseases like powdery mildew and to pests like aphids, thrips, and whiteflies. But those insects you can get rid of with a spray, like Captain Jack's Dead Bug Brew. You can just spray it down with that, and that will take care of those. The plant I've had, knock on wood, I've never had any problems with insects. Once in a while you'll see a leaf that's been eaten partially by some insect, but nothing major. So now what I want to do is take you outside and we're going to take a close-up of this plant. One thing I wanted to mention though, if you do plant it in a partial sun environment, it does become more leggy and also what I would call viney because it's stretching out, it's trying to reach the sun. But even though it gets like that, I still think it looks terrific. So now what I want to do is head outside so we can get a close-up view of this plant. Okay, and here is the false sunflower I was telling you about, and I have this planted in an area that gets partial sun. It only gets about 2 to 3 hours of sun, mostly in the morning. And the soil conditions here are clay. In fact, it's very heavy clay. And what I'll say about it, it does terrific in terms of blooms. You can see this thing has been blooming since June. It's now the end of August, and it's got, just a tremendous amount of blooms on it, and it will continue blooming all the way through until the first frost of the year. And they just look beautiful. I mean, you can see just how good it looks against the other plants that's around it. And the one thing I'll say about it though, when you plant it in a partial sun situation, it does tend to get a little leggy, as you can see here, and also kind of viney. But I actually like that because you can trim it up and you could be pretty aggressive with it too. If you wanted to trim this, like for instance, you could trim it all the way back to here, and then it's going to get you more structured growth in terms of blooms and keep it more controlled. And you can see what I mean by viney over here. You can see one of these shoots going off and growing into this grass. Now the one thing about it though, you will need to keep it braced. And you can see here, if I zoom in, I've got like this little fencing, garden fencing around it. And I also have a brace inside because it will tend to, flop over to one side. But I think it looks great. And it looks great in the garden. So I would highly recommend this plant. It's the false sunflower. If you live in the Midwest, it's a very easy perennial to grow. From what I understand, it is short-lived. I've had this out here though for 3 years, and maybe it's self-seeding, but it keeps coming back, and it keeps coming back more and more robust every year. So that is the false sunflower. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video and would like to help out the channel, be sure to hit the like button right now. Also be sure to leave a comment and subscribe to this channel, and I will talk to you on the next one.